Great.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll start sharp in next 2 minutes. Thank you. everyone. Good afternoon. So before I start, if somebody can just let me know, am I audible loud and clear?
Yeah, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So hello all, a very good afternoon. And myself, Ekta Sidwe, on behalf of the Analytics team and our partner, EDAS, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of webinar, Digital Transformation Tech Talks, Build Your Model Intelligent Workplace. So before I start the webinar, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. There would be a Q&A after each session where the attendees can ask the questions, if any, to respective speakers. The guidelines are, you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself on your video, introduce yourself, and put your question to the concerned speaker. So before we start, we would like to share an interesting message from Mr. Abhinav Arora, CEO at EDAS. So can we have the message from Mr. Ankit? Mr. Chandrasekhar, can you please stop sharing the screen now? Thank you.
In our days of management education, we were taught about Maslow's hierarchy in marketing. It stated about the various stages of aspiration in a human being's life. It started with needs, then wants, and then the other stages. Need being, which is very, very important for an individual to have: food, shelter, clothing. And then came the age of millennials. They added 3 more aspirations to it: mobile phone, computer, and data. And thus, this became a digital age. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Abhinav Arora and I am the CEO of Eureka Digitization and Automation Services. And I welcome you all in this wonderful forum of Digital Tech Talks. EDAS is the digital arm of Eureka Outsourcing Solutions, which is one of the most formidable BPM organizations in India. We have offices not only in this country, but also in US, UK, and very soon coming up in the African continent. In our endeavor to give best solutions which are driven by technology and new age innovations for our customers, we launched our tech arm, which is EDAS. Today, EDAS creates products which are state-of-the-art IT products, starting from the customer onboarding to a call contact center as a solution, to other value-added products on bot side, to intelligent knowledge management and quality-based products. We cover the entire customer experience journey with this. It's a SaaS-based platform, an ICT platform that we work upon, and it's really overwhelming to say that in 6 months of its inception, we've received a huge positive response from the market. The products are a huge success and they're all actually adding a lot of value to all the clients where these are deployed. Our Propeller program not only helps the new startups to actually create products on our platform, but also help them to engage with us for their sales and promotions. With this, I would like to hand over this forum to my colleagues, Pranav Sharma, who is the business head and EVP for EDAS, and Jaswinder Singh, who is the Chief Technology Officer for EDAS, to take it forward. Welcome you all again, and I also thank Ekta and the entire Brain Analytics team to engage us in such a wonderful forum. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Hi, everyone. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, Pranav, we can.
Thank you. So you've just heard our CEO mentioning where EDAS is and how we came in the business and how we're taking it further. I am Pranav Sharma. I am the business head for EDAS, and we'll start discussing the simplifying digital transformation via our SaaS solutions that we present today. So before we start, we need to understand who led the digital transformation of your company. I mean, out of all the participants here, just a thought, who led the digital transformation of your company? Was it the CEO? Was it the CTO? Or was it the COVID-19? So I believe most of us will go for COVID-19, option C. But then there are some of us who are still on wait and watch mode. And just to reiterate, for them, the new wave is coming, and so is the competition. So we need to get ready. And to get ready, we need to analyze how pandemic effect has pushed the emerging tech our way. So if we look at the leaders, as of now, the 50.7% of leaders are expecting to accelerate their technology spend in digital transformation initiatives. So we're taking up those initiatives. But 30.1% at the same point of time expect to return to the business as usual in 3 to 6 months. But we need to understand why this adoption is the digital transformation term, or this digital churning. Where are these terms coming from? They're coming from the changing global situation, changing customer requirements, creating innovative and distinctive brand image, and which is what we term as digital transformation is where this is all coming from. So basically, all organizations looking to be viewed as innovative or progressive, they're adopting digital transformation and improving their business outcomes further. The business outcomes are increased market share, increased spend per customer, achieving higher customer satisfaction and customer retention. Now, from here, let's go and understand what is the platform which is leading the way to build this digital ecosystem. For us, it's SaaS. We all know the hard way that SaaS in Indian culture is the basis of family ecosystem. So when I'm talking SaaS, I'm calling SaaS in Indian culture. To simplify, so is what SaaS does in the digital ecosystem in the IT world. Nathan, who was the former CTO at Microsoft, once quipped, software is a gas, it expands to fill its container. Similarly, SaaS provides enterprises with edge on scalability, compliance, cost efficiency, and security, along with mobile functionality and modernized marketing. So if you see, 92.2% leaders here agree that emerging technologies are critical to achieving digital transformation goals and to achieve those initiatives that they've been planning for. Let's look at some stats. 66% of the companies use at least one emerging tech for CX right now. 82% of the firms agree that if they do not add voice interaction capabilities, they'll lose market share. 9 out of 10 companies agree that in the next 2-3 years, they will learn more about customer habits from the connected devices. And which is where, if you see, 90% of the individuals agree that if their organization does not improve its CX capabilities, it will lose business to more customer-centric competitors. And that is where EDAS comes in. So when although we are a late entrant, but as Jack Welch said, copy best practices shamelessly. So here we are with all the possible best practices from the different solutions, which we have inbuilt in our own SaaS solutions. What we saw was a staggering pace of change that was coming in. Most of the interactions were through mobile devices. Every one of us was engaged on our mobile devices. IoT devices, 20 billion and increasing every day. Cloud penetration increasing and to be forecasted to double into next 2 to 3 years. So which is where we started analyzing the problem statement in this CX scenario. Was there support across all channels at all time? No. Business beyond operational hours? Yes, that was a challenge. Workforce working from home? It's the latest challenge that we are facing right now, and everybody's trying to address it in their own way. Agent efficiency and performance metrics, that was another challenge that we saw. BI reporting and insights has always been there, but again, how many solutions between us address that? Multiple systems and integration, no automation, or I would not say no automation, but lack of automation in the business, and data analytics being the buzzword in the digital transformation these days. So all these problem statements made us realize that we need we can address those through EDAS, and EDAS was incepted. So we currently are a global SaaS customized solution provider. We stress on customized and flexible word very strongly. We have a strong presence in India, UK, Australia, and US, as you've heard from our CEO. We have partnership with global technology leaders. We have secure data centers, direct and in partnerships. We have subject matter experts with 20 plus years of experience, and we are ISO certified when it comes down to cloud, data, personal information security compliance. We've done the ISO certifications there. So the products that we came out with is an omni-channel contact center, which we call CCaaS, Contact Center as a Service. We provide on cloud, private or public or hybrid scenario. We have AI communication bots, which are on voice, chat, and email. We have quality management system, which is we all know, we all want quality in life in terms of our business and in terms of personal life, but we do not realize how critical it becomes a parameter to track and to measure. So we have introduced a quality management system with our own insights, and I'll take you through this further, where we analyze the CX and the sales engagements on the quality parameters. We have an HR virtual onboarding solution, which is paperless, contactless solution. We have robotic process automation for analytics, RPA and BI. We have intelligent document processing. We came up with mobile access and attendance solution, and we have intelligent knowledge management portal. So going further, how EDAS helps digital or facilitates in digital transformation. So we are a seamless integrated experience. That's what we offer on a public, private cloud, or a hybrid solution. We leverage on investments that a customer has already made in terms of infrastructure, and we integrate with those with that infrastructure, and we provide a world-class support on in terms of services and solutions, depending on your enterprise needs. So if I go further and talk about digital transformation reshaping sales and CX engagement, so our Vani, which is our CCaaS software, has an IVR. So we call it IIVR, so intelligent interactive voice response. We connect it to a BI dashboard which forecast and trend your business across all channels. And so for us, it's not really just an IVR. We call it IIVR. We have voice blasters. We have intelligent bots, voice, chat, email that we just discussed. We have video KYCs, which is latest buzz entering the market. And then we have BI and data analytics division as well. So digital transformation basically reflects business drive for agility and innovation. And these features would help us drive agility and innovation across any business that is focusing on CX and sales. So I was discussing Vani, the CCaaS solution that we have. So if you look at the intelligent advanced BI dashboard, that has capability of using business intelligence to measure effectiveness and track forecasting. So we track all channels, inbound, outbound, sales, email, chat, social media, and all that intelligence, even that comes in, is then built into this BI dashboard. So you can forecast to the management, you can forecast externally, internally, you can see the trending that's happening from a region perspective, from a product perspective. So this is an edge that we have. And then we have an advanced QMS dashboard, which gives you transactional and analytical insights in terms of the performance of the process. Coming down to bots, we all have heard bots, and bots is something which everybody is adopting these days, and everybody is making and selling these days. But for us we need to understand that we have a full stack SaaS platform which gives you higher accuracy, customer experience, CSAT. It reduces human dependency. It provides intent recognition, vernacular support, operational cost reduction, and automate the task. And basically, the scenario of addressing a business beyond business hours is where bots can also come in. So that's also again a key aspect as to why businesses or organizations are going towards bots. When we talk about RPA and BI analytics, especially on AI, will have the biggest impact on CX strategy. And we have so much data, and more we can leverage that, the more chances we get to win. So we all know RPS can help us save time, minimize error. You guys are seeing it on the screen, introduces automation, enhances productivity. And just when it comes down to productivity, let me give you an example. One of the India's leading bank is using our RPS solution for a specific use case. The idea was to eliminate repetitive data from lead initiation to contact center to underwriting stage. As a result, quantum of manpower has gone down by 40%, and their business productivity has gone up by 60.6%. So RPA does improve business outcomes. It saves time, it minimizes error, it enhances productivity, it introduces automation. Coming down to our HR onboarding virtual solution, which we discussed, it's a paperless, contactless, checklist-based end-to-end solution. And this, I mean, you can do, you can remotely onboard a candidate by generating an OTP on his own individual number, and he can upload his, and from offer letter to an appointment letter to the ref checks, everything happens through our software. And this is all virtual. So again, considering the pandemic, these are the solutions that market is looking for. And we've got a great response from the HR onboarding firms on this solution. Coming down to mobile access and attendance solution, again, this is a contactless, smartphone-based end-to-end access management system that scales from a single door to a multiple building portfolio. It all can be monitored and managed remotely from the software platform or from the mobile app. So as you can see on your screen, it has access management, attendance management, visitor management, and leave management. You can generate reports out of it, and HR can use it for the payroll as well. So complete end-to-end geotagging is possible. Within 10 meters, you don't have to swipe in your card or put a thumb impression. It is again all contactless, as we said. Coming down to our last solution of the day is intelligent document processing. Again, it processes unstructured data into a structured format. We process large amount of data for a smooth, efficient, error-free automated process. We've got a very high success rate when it comes down to document processing. Our intelligent algorithm can continuously learn and improve itself to work for your business, and it has been trained on actual real-life documents to deliver high accuracy. So this is where we are right now. Feel free to ask any questions that come in. We've got Jaswinder, who is our CTO, who would be ready to address any technical queries as well. Anything that you want to ask, the platform is open.
Yes, thank you, Pranav, for sharing your great insights. So audiences, I've already mentioned, do we have Jaswinder taking a session here?
Yeah, Jaswinder is also here.
Okay. So audiences, as Pranav mentioned, that we are open for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, I have already shared the guidelines. Please raise your hands, and Pranav and Mr. Jaswinder are here to take your questions. So we'll wait for a while, Pranav, for people to ask a question and raise their hands. Okay. So audiences, if you have any questions, something you can also put on the chat box, any insights. We have Pranav and Jaswinder who will answer your questions there itself. So that's completely fine. Yeah. Okay. So now I think we can move to a very interesting session. That's a panel discussion. So yes, Chandrasekhar, can you please share your screen and put all the speakers on the, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So now moving forward to an interesting panel discussion, which is on digitalization 2021 and beyond, challenges and solutions to the future of contact center. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Manish Madan. Mr. Manish is a SVP, Head Digital Customer Service Claims with AG on Life. He has over 20 plus years of experience. His specialties are agile development, delivery lead, design thinking, operation management, and lead almost the entire value chain throughout the customer life cycle. We have Mr. Sushant Agarwal. He is the country BI leader with Decathlon India. He specializes in consulting competitive intelligence, business development, business analysis, customer and market insights, sales and partner enablement, program management, strategic alliance, and people management. We have Mr. Ankit Malhotra. Mr. Ankit is an associate director with FreeCharge. He has 12 years of experience in contact center and workforce management, automation, and product management. He has worked for multiple geographies across the globe. We have Mr. Birendra Kumar Sahu. He's a senior director of engineering, head of data engineering and science with ChargeB. Having more than 21 years of experience, he's a data engineer and data science leader and has worked across multiple sectors and startups. We have Mr. Gaurav Bhushan Sharma. He's a senior vice president growth with Pine Labs. He's a seasoned business leader with rich experience of scaling startups and building brands through innovative and cost-effective measure. He started his career with Microsoft in 2005 and has been working in Indian startup ecosystem across edtech and fintech for more than a decade now. We have Dr. Chumki Nogi, a well-versed experienced COO of EOS. She is doctorate in sales and marketing with a strong business management skill. Also, she has worked in finance services, operation management, CRM, MIS, and contact center. We have Mr. Sharad Agarwal. He's a business development head, India market with Eureka Outsourcing Solutions. He has 21 years of experience across IT and ITES sectors, comes with rich experience spanning new customer acquisition and client relation, and has led leadership positions with various established large-scale BPO. We also have again Mr. Pranav Sharma. He's the EVP and business head with EDAS, businesses in EMEA and APAC region, and Mr. Jaswinder Singh, the Chief Technical Officer at EDAS, having 24 years of global experience in the IT domain. And now I would like to welcome our moderator, Mr. Ankit Goenka, to speak about Mr. Ankit. He's the head customer experience at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company. His distinguished career spans 18 plus years. His forte has been driving customer experience across the value chain by combining new age technologies with customer insights and exceeding customer expectations profitability. His specialties includes BFSI, payments, RPA, artificial intelligence, and process engineering. Thank you all, the panel speakers and our moderator. And over to you, Mr. Ankit, to start your session.
Thank you, Ekta, for a wonderful introduction for all the panelists. And it's really a big honor for me to, moderate this session with because when I look at the entire list of panelists today, we have a very, very diverse, panel today, and I'm really excited, and I hope, we'll be able to, do justice to the next 45 minutes and give really good insights to all our audience, talk about some real life examples rather than just talking, as I call it, the global GAN, right? So, we heard Pranav, talking about, pandemic in his presentation that, the entire digitization, it's the pandemic which gave the birth. Right? And I completely agree to that, Pranav, because, gone are those days where now you need to go to the CFO and present a CVA, to launch something digitally, right? Because it's the other way around. The CFO would say that, hey, why are you not doing it, right? So I completely agree with you. And obviously, when you saw that pandemic coming in, companies who had invested, really well in the entire digital technologies upfront, they didn't only survive, but they thrived during the entire pandemic, right? And the other companies who had to actually do that entire catch up, right? They didn't have any choice, right? But just to go ahead and implement those technologies, right? Now, with that, in fact, one interesting thing comes into the play, because we've been talking about digital everywhere, okay? And I was reading this very interesting survey from PwC, which talked about, 75% of the world consumers still want to interact with a human and don't want to interact with the technology, the bots and other people. Right?
Correct.
Now, with that, in fact, my first question comes in that in the quest of really going digital and putting in the entire technology piece, are we really forgetting the real empathy? That needs to come in when it comes to entire customer experience, right? Because, for example, you spoke about all the bots, right? Now, bots is everywhere, right? You order food, there is a bot. you want to buy something, there's a bot. You want to understand some real education stuff for your kids, there is a bot telling you. You want to do your banking, the bot is there. So bot is there everywhere. However, having said that, I strongly believe that when it comes to bots and this technology, if it's end to end, not stitched properly, it gives a bad experience to the customer, because most of the times, what happens is that bot will not be able to answer any query or question, and then it goes blank rather
Yeah.
than transferring it to the human. Now for that, let me get Manish Madan. Manish, I can't see you on the screen.
Mr. Ankit,
Hi.
Manish, sorry, is it Mr. Manish?
Yes. Hi. Sorry.
Okay,
So
Hey,
I'm
Manish.
I'm in
I'll,
transit, so you'll be able to see me now or see me now. Yeah, but I'm in
yeah,
transit,
I'll
so
just make you the co-host.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
just,
Great,
Thank
great.
you. Good.
So Manish, this question goes to you. Being in the insurance, empathy obviously is the critical factor. Do you really think that technology is taking away that entire empathy factor?
Actually, strangely, just because before this question of yours, I was on a call talking to my team to find ways of managing exceptions, also through technology, and really decreasing the exceptions Pareto by another 80%. I'll give you one example of empathy, and I understand insurance is slightly more complicated again. However, nuances don't change. So today, with any you know application, if you're charged for a cancellation fee, that clearly is the exception, which used to bother customers a lot at a point in time. But today, that exercising those charges, right? It's difference there. Of course, like I said, nuances will vary, complications will vary, but to a great extent, technology can help take care of that as well.
Absolutely. And with that, Manish, I want to go to Sushant. Sushant, decathlon. You know, Technology, how does that really play whenever it comes to technology with the human centric approach towards the customer experience?
Thanks, Sanket, and Pranav for setting up the context. First of all, it's good to be here with all the esteemed leaders from the industry. Interesting topic today, and I think it's need of the hour that we discuss this. And there is no right or wrong answer, right, to this question. And that is why I believe we need to have a very balanced approach between virtual assistants and human touch to actually deliver a wow customer experience, right? For example, for any non-value added task, like whether it's order tracking, refunds, we can definitely rely on or leverage bots to improve the customer experience as well as efficiency and reduce the costs. But for any value added tasks, right, which are really driven by experience and expertise, I think we need to have a human touch. Because for example, I'll talk about decathlon, right? We started investing in technology some time back, like 4 or 5 years back, right? But when pandemic hit, we found that a lot of customers migrated from buying from stores to online, right? Now, when especially with decathlon, because we give a kind of a experience in the store, right? When a user walks into the store, he expects some kind of expertise from the sport leaders who are in the layout to actually answer their queries, right? Now, I don't think a bot can do it. Like a bot can do it to an extent, but it cannot do the full justice to the user, right? So that is why we found a very balanced approach. Definitely, simple queries, order tracking, refunds, a bot can answer. But when it comes to finding the right product, right, for the user, or giving more information about any specific product that the customer is asking, right, he expects a similar kind of an experience like what he get when he's walking to the store, right? So that is why we brought in the our human capital to actually work with the bots. So whenever there is a user coming in to actually asking a specific question, because we do sell a lot of technical products as well. And so for example, a cricketer comes and he's asking about a cricket bat. A cricket sport leader who himself plays the sport actually answers to this, right? So that's why I think that is really important to actually have a right balanced approach. Apart from that, you talked about empathy, right? I think empathy, like it's one thing to be empathic towards someone, but I think it doesn't mean that you have to agree with them every time, right? It also
Right.
means that being you are able to say no with some compassion, right? So
Absolutely.
that is why I think there are certain strategies which any organization can deploy when they are actually deploying bots or a human driven customer service. First one is
Understand.
like you can be being authentic, like you can be authentic whether it's a bot or a human. It's always hard to establish empathy without being authentic, right? Like you need to be
Right.
genuine yourself, right? Second uh, point I would like to say is like when the bots communicate, right? uh, when we are designing the bots, it needs to be more like the design process should be keeping in mind how the customer reacts, right? How the customer
Right.
talks to the human. So a bot using more emotive words or phrases will be more effective and it will feel more natural to the customer. So that's the second point. And I think the last one would be like definitely when a angry customer walks in, right? Like is talking to a chat. We know AI is really effective in handling those scenarios, and I think AI driven conversational analytics can actually help from transferring that communication from bot to a human agent who can really resolve the customer query in a better way. So
Right.
overall, I feel that it's going to be a very balanced approach that every organization has to take up forward. And definitely, virtual assistants are the way to go forward. But uh, keeping in mind that we have to be really cautious that the customer experience doesn't get hampered,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, absolutely. I completely agree with you, Shanta. And with that, let me go to Pranav. Pranav, we heard, both Manish and Shushan talk about technology and, empathy, bots and everything.
Right.
You being, the technology service provider, okay, how do you really solve this?
So I agree with both of them. Both of them had a valid insight and valid points on that. It has to be a blended approach, a human and bots picking it up somewhere. But again, at the same point of time, let me start with a scenario. Imagine you're coming home one day after work. You have purchased a TV just a few days back, which has stopped working as soon as you turned it on. You'd plan to watch a World Cup final and with your friends who are already banging at your door. And then, feeling enraged or angry, you would call up the customer support number, but no one answers because customer support is off duty hours, or maybe they're observing a national holiday or some other holiday. So imagine the kind of frustration that comes in because the
Right.
business is not there to address your enrage or to pacify you down. And what impression would you carry for that company or that brand? So which is where for decades AI companies have been training robots to handle customer support. Today there are robots, chatbots, virtual assistants that can intelligently interact with humans, and intelligence with time is increasing. And so this is one part of it. The second part of it I see is that at times the customer can be very irrational, where it could be very emotional, or outrightly maybe could be a rude customer. It is often tough for the call center agents to stay calm and composed. At the end of the day, they're all humans, and they can be emotionally drained as well. They can be tired, or they could be angry as well. To pass, so when they're in that state, they can't pacify an angry customer. So eventually, again, the
Right.
robots would come in to help that because they don't have emotions. They would not feel enraged when a customer is angry. So this is the second
Right.
scenario where bots can really help. The third scenario, it could be that we have found that almost 49% of the customers have put that long hold times is one of the major reasons why they find the voice channels frustrating.
Yeah.
Almost 62% customers are frustrated by the businesses that offer only one or two ways to get in touch with them. um,
Absolutely.
50 plus percent customer will abandon a call after a too long wait on the call. Again, this is the third scenario where the bots would come in. So
Right.
reports have always shown that by decreasing the time that your support agent speak to the customer is a far more effective way to produce happy customer at the end of the day. So
Right.
my take is, let's not call it a bot or a robot. Let's call it a smart assist. And we all need smart assist in our lives, personal as well as professional, as well as from a business point of view. So I would say that bots or smart assist really help keeping the business going with happy customers.
True, Pranav. And if I can just summarize this particular point in a way, that perhaps the bots are there for the repetitive kind of issues, right?
Right.
Which are repetitive in nature. Okay, something which really needs a personalization or a customization, or that real empathy. When there is an issue, there you need that human, to come into the play and manage that particular piece,
Right.
right? And for example, if you tell somebody that a Rolls Royce customer that, hey, you want a Rolls Royce and you want it customized, I will give you a bot only to do that. Perhaps that's not going to work out,
Correct.
right?
So it's a
There
blended
you need
approach.
a human. Yeah. So I agree
So,
with you, right?
Ankit, just want to add there, what you said actually
So,
makes a lot of sense. You have,
yeah,
so insurance, for example, any other product when you're selling, you have high fidelity, high value interactions. Okay, that high
right.
value is not attributed to the cost around it, but to the emotions around that interaction.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
the example just given about cricket match, and that's a high value interaction for you. It
Absolutely.
may not be important for the organization, but it's for you. The
Correct.
idea is that if you can give human like experience there,
Right.
identify whether this can be handled and smartly transfer it till the time you're taking care of the last leg and giving it to someone who can resolve it. Now that someone could be like you said, could be a repeat interaction, or your bot has learned to handle that basis past past model and the way model has learned, or eventually you realize there's no way but to give it to a human. I think identifying uh, the value of interaction and what value does it carry for the customer is half battle one. Uh,
Absolutely.
so empathy largely depends on the value of interaction to the person who's trying to interact with you. I thought I should add that point to just make it a little
Thanks.
clear.
Thanks a lot, Manish. And with that, let me just turn the entire discussion. We talk about customer experience and customer. Okay? But what about that employee? In the contact center, be it a inbound or let's say a tele-sales agent. Who's right down the pyramid. Okay, and perhaps we want that person to actually deliver everything for us. But at the end of the day, we don't trust that person, right? There will be a lot of checks on that, when it comes to real empowerment or giving some technological solution for that agent. Perhaps in that entire game, that takes the backseat, right? But I'm a strong believer that an employee experience is actually equal to a customer experience. Because if you can get your employees happy, who are actually servicing or maybe selling at the front end, happy, they will make sure that your customers are happy. And for that, let me call upon Dr. Chumki. If I can get your thoughts on this entire piece. Employee experience is equal to customer experience, especially for the context of telesales.
Sure, Ankit. Hi, good afternoon, all, and thank you for having me in this forum. It's been quite interesting till now. I would want to now talk upon my most, this is one of my most favorite topic, and I think between me and Pranav, we keep on fighting on this. What's more important, employees or technology? But then, to my mind, the entire digital disruption is like a marriage of technology and the management. It's not a choice of one over the other. In order to ensure that this marriage is a success, it is important that the driving force, and for us in this case, the driving force are, of course, our employees, that they're kept happy. The only way, we can keep them happy and satisfied, I guess, is to keep them engaged in the entire process and to keep on showing to them that constant value add that we do through technology in their individual growth path. See, at the end of the day, companies are dealing with human beings, and there is a huge risk in making the entire process mechanical. The industry today, I think, needs to be cautious that in order to we need to maintain that personal touch in whichever form possible. And in order to do that, I think the regular skip levels, the one-to-one discussions, the constant training programs that we need to give to our employees to how to do the job. One is the execution, and the second part is how to get the desired level of output through the job becomes very important at today's date and time. With organizations, having to embrace the entire technology invent that in various areas that we are seeing today, Even the modern HR today must rely on more on automation and data analytics, probably than what we have been relying on before in erstwhile pandemic times. It's, to my mind, if you ask me, it's a kind of metamorphosis that we are going through in our day-to-day life. We begin to see the intervention of technology right from the time, like when, while Pranav was giving his presentation, we see right from the time where we have a new employee inducted in the system. Employee joining process is also made online today. So I can talk about my experience at EOS. At EOS, with the help of EDAS technologies, we have already automated the entire new employee joining process. So there is absolutely no human intervention there. But having said that, it is important that the HR talks to the guy, teaches them how to go through the entire process. So here again, human intervention becomes very important. Operationally, if I talk in terms of delivery, I think the work from home environment has become the new normal today, especially since the pandemic over the last 1.5 years. While employees in the beginning, I have seen them struggle, and going through a lot of difficulties in adapting the entire situation. I guess the leadership team, the supervisor team here played an extremely important role, by giving them constant coaching, constant feedback, constantly calling them or engaging them over, a WhatsApp medium or something, and asking them how it is going, what are the kind of difficulties they're facing, and therefore keeping them motivated and keeping them engaged in the entire process, thus making the human resources the key factor to the entire equation of technology and the business that we are doing. Therefore, to my mind, there needs to be a constant sense of engagement, which I keep on repeating myself, with the employees and encouraging them to use technology, and demonstrating to the fullest that how technology can help them enhance their performance. One more example in our organization that I would want to cite, maybe the QMS system that again we have developed through EDAS, and we have automated it. So through the quality management system, an employee and individual at whatever level they are being able to track their performance, their the output quality that they give, and also they're able to kind of do that statistics and mathematics. They can calculate that what more they need to do in terms of numbers in order to ensure that their weekly and monthly targets are met. Now, mind you, this is completely automated. There is no human intervention in this entire technology. Now, where is human intervention required, and that empathy and that engagement required? The human intervention here is required to make that employee actually use the technology. That you need to use the technology on a day-to-day basis, get convinced with the technology, and therefore make it a part of your daily routine. So there again, we've seen a lot of empathy that has played a role, understanding where are the challenges, because not all employees, and especially in a BPM kind of a domain, not all employees are very tech savvy. Of course, they're savvy on their mobiles with their WhatsApp and Internet Explorers maybe, or YouTube, but not a CRM savvy person. So there comes a lot of human touch and a lot of leadership role that we see. So overall, if you ask me, undoubtedly technology would take the steering wheel in the future growth of all organizations across industries. But I still believe that human resources and humanness will still remain to be the fulcrum of the entire process.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Chumki. And with that, let me get Virendra's view also on this entire topic. And then I'll try and summarize my views as well.
Yeah, hi everybody. I am Virendra. Thank you for that wonderful conference. So now, one thing about that, I want to take AI board few minutes. But I am coming from the AI background, and it's been around many years with the fintech company, how to build AI and ML. There's one point about that AI board. It not feel that same person is going to talk to everybody on same way, right? So it's more about that your bot is going to learn the behavior of the customer, right? And even that he also have to understand that how is the personalization is going to happen, right? He have to have a different type of language and other things. So now how is the bot technology is more about that keyword, type of the search, which generally it's not going to work. So now if we are working, we have a pure ML based approach where we underwritten customer. Now I come to the point. Now here, when we talk about customer experience, employee experience is very, very important. Let me say that if I'm not happy, how I make you anybody else is happy, right? And it's very simple. Like if I'm hungry, I don't have food on my stomach, I cannot make anybody satisfied. And similar is happening here. And people feel that people not treating that employee or company is not treating the employee on the way how they are treating the customer. They feel that customer is everything, but not the employee. And now did it change? Because I came from a lot of the fintech company. I'm the head of the Razorpay before coming to Charles. I feel that employee experience and the customer experience will go hand to hand. And the happier employee, happier agent is going to give the superior customer service. And this is very much true. And the reason that how much we are investing in the technology or anything, how much we are investing on the customer experience, similar type of the effort we have to put to make the employee happy. And there is a way, and there is a will, and there is a way, or something like that. I know that in the past, around 20 years, I work mostly more technology space. And I find that all the companies where have a good customer and employee experience, they are growing very fast. It's the reason that because the happy employee can make the customer very much happy. Now we will tell about that, how to build a high performance workflow or something. It's not something like rocket science. Now we know that we can make that hiring, onboarding, training, employee development, recognition, engagement, one-on-one, something like that.
Right.
Which can be used to make your employee is more about that happier and make it that is the better experience. If we talk about that call center and other thing, it's a major problem. If you see that what's going to happen, you make one agent, you spend a lot of the money, especially on the training, onboarding, made him to understand the domain and everything. And because of reason he is not happy, he left. It also you lost a lot of the money, right? And this is not going to work. So generally, even for the agent or call center or anywhere, we are have to feel that quality is everywhere is important. Quality, maybe the people quality, happiness in that, even the customer, everything. To add for that, what I feel that it's very important that we go hand to hand, right? Make both the people happy.
No, absolutely, Virender. And I completely agree with whatever you said and Dr. Chimpi mentioned. And being a call center agent myself, I started my career as a call center agent only. I used to take calls, right, and answer customer queries. So I can completely relate. When Virender, you mentioned that, think about that agent who's there at the call center and they maybe making calls or taking calls, right? Because they completely relate to that. Right. And I strongly believe that technology can actually complement this entire piece, for that agent. And the right, investment is required for those agents. Simply, for example, make the process idiot proof. A simple concept in Six Sigma is that you make the process idiot proof, right? And technology can actually help you do that.
Yeah, right.
You build those validations, build those, Virender, you talked about the entire AI piece, machine learning and all, this is the data that you have, you build those algorithms on top of it, put it at the front end in your CRM, so while an agent is executing something, there is, at the back end, that entire program running and actually throwing up to that agent, hey, this is where you are going wrong. So those simple interventions by technology while the person is there on the call. Let's say you're doing a telesales, right? And we all talk about speech analytics and voice AI and everything. Simple solution is that you deploy those solutions on real time, right? You are doing a telesales, you have the data, of your past sales, what are the right words, what those sentiment analysis and all those things are there. And while their agent is there on the call with the customer, you're popping up those things that, hey, why don't you now talk about this? You actually missed on, talking about this thing. So you go ahead and talk about this. You pitch this particular product. So I guess the technology can actually complement, and enhance that entire experience for the employee. And then eventually, obviously, the entire customer experience goes up, right?
Yeah, Ankit, generally, uh, in the one of the company where I'm working as the chief technical officer, and we developed this type of a project in-house. I don't know if you have. Generally, what's going to happen when code it come and it have integration, it automatically pop up the complete profile of the customer to know that what is last time it happened. Generally, you know about the customer, and same time you know how it
Yeah.
have different conversation it happened before.
Right.
Customer maybe called 10 times for the same thing, you understand how to talk. Because if you don't know the contract and you start talking, may you do the mistake. So generally, technology is going to help, and same time, it's not something big deal. Now, it's a very advanced technology there, and if you want to build,
Yes.
you can build it, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely. And with that, since we're talking about that in the entire employee experience and customer experience, let's change a little gear and move to sales, right? And I want to call Gaurav, for his views that we talk about, pandemic, there is a new world, right? So what do you think, Gaurav, your take on how the entire customer acquisition and retention, of course, have changed in the new world?
Hi, first of all, thanks. I think this has been a very lovely conversation going on till now. I come from an internet world, and I come from marketing and product in many ways. And I think I will give reference for three different sectors, right, which I have closely monitored in the pandemic, right. One is logistics, another is tech, another is fintech, right. Um, I think in terms of acquisition, even those acquisition which were primarily considered as offline, these people will never be, you can never fruitfully acquire them online. I will give it truck owners and truck drivers, right? You will think that you will go to a transport nagar and acquire them.
Right.
What COVID did was that you force you to acquire them or think about acquiring them digitally. So in a way, we started exploring how can we be innovative and reach out to them, which could still make sense and talk in a language, right? So everybody's digital experience is different. The way you use digital
Absolutely.
is very different than how a truck driver does it, right? The guy uses WhatsApp for voice communication. There's a lot of voice chats. They're driving while they're talking, right? So how to
Right.
reach out to them? That was there, that we have to be innovative. Second was there was increasing adoption across levels, right? People realize it's important, whether that's a merchant, whether that's a tutor, whether that's a truck driver, truck owner, they all came online. They also understand this is also a medium through which this can be done, right? So from an acquisition perspective, we are seeing a lot of new ways of reaching out to these people. People are getting more responsive. Ultimately, it will become a hybrid model. I'll see, as I think somebody was mentioning earlier, right? People still love to interact with humans, and that's the reason we might survive the onslaught of the robot, right? Because there is still some value in having human conversation. Another important thing is empathy, which you mentioned, right? Even if you are reaching out to this segment digitally, even in marketing, there are a lot of things which you can, even creatives can be made digitally. Everything can be done through the AI part, right? You still have to understand that you are talking, like communicating to a human, right? You have and a very different kind of a psyche, right? A truck driver has a very different way of thinking than a small merchant who's sitting selling things at in Chandni Chowk, right? Or with comparison with a tuition teacher who is like Khannaji, who is teaching in Jalandhar. But
Absolutely.
if you understand that while digital gives you that entire landscape, in some cases the cost of acquisitions are also lower than offline, because offline obviously you have to there is a people cost and all those comes into picture.
Right.
But people who will be able to maximize the benefit of this trend would be people who still have that empathy or have that customer first mindset, right? How I communicate these things effectively to these people, what will they understand? So empathy is not going anywhere. Soft skills is not going anywhere. Digital will accelerate people who knows all these soft skills and empathy, their growth. And for people who don't, I think they will be in slight kind of trouble. But this trend is here to stay. I think there are going to be a lot of hybrid models which will come, which are purely offline lately. That is what we are seeing. Even in terms of customer retention, right? There's increased adoption of, let's say, people have started using apps. They know how notification works and how those things work. I think I think we all as an industry are or in a journey that we are learning stuff, we are experimenting stuff in terms of what works and what doesn't work. But again, I might be repeating myself. One who understands the customer most will succeed. That's how it is. Yeah.
Sure,
And so,
Gaurav. And
right. And before even starting anything for marketing or anything for retention, you have to spend time with the customer, right? For that, the offline meeting would still happen, right? The Zoom things are awesome, but it still can't replace the coffee meetings we used to have.
absolutely. Now with that, let me move to Ankit. Uh, Ankit, being in free charge, and this is my own, personal view. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The kind of business you are in, I feel it's a very commoditized business, right? Because, bill payments, recharges, and various stuff, it's available everywhere now. I guess the only differentiation, on that commodity product which comes in is the entire experience of that entire technology piece, which you kind of go ahead and implement, right? And with that, how do you really see that, being in a business of recharge, right? The acquisition and then actually ensuring that that customer who has paid, let's say one electricity bill on your platform, goes on and pays the subsequent months as well. It doesn't go to any other platform, right? So that the entire retention piece which comes into the play. How do you really, look at that?
Right. So, first of all, thank you for having me as a part of this discussion. Well, actually, it's all about, so I'll just pick up pieces by pieces. The major aspect was with COVID, there was a drastic change in adaptability, and then the experience came, right? There was a specific segment which was already online, but there was still 80% of the population which were not online, be it merchant, like Gaurav mentioned. And though they were using Facebook and WhatsApp, but they were not tech savvy. For them, there was always a hindrance to be online or do anything online. So players like us were already spending hefty amounts to acquire these customers, right? But with a push like the demonetization that happened, that was the first push that all the fintech companies got. The second push, obviously, is the COVID. We were already digital, but acquiring a customer was costly for us, right? We were always running offers. Everybody was running offers to acquire new customers. But with this wave coming in, and everybody, because no other option was available, so everybody started moving on to the digital platforms. For them, yes, it was the only possible way to purchase or make bill payments. But then again, nobody was ready for it, neither us, right? So we had to scale it up overnight, right? All the volumes had went up, there was a sudden spike. Nobody was prepared for it.
Right.
So we had to work continuously to keep everything intact and in place. But then, yes, there was the second part was the experience. So once a user did come to the platform, did a transaction on the platform, the other part was to keep on bringing him back. Now, because there is a segmentation of every customer, we had to reach out to him differently. So for every customer, we had to plan, we had to plan the communication accordingly. There were, we even have financial products on our platform. So for those platforms, we still had to have our virtual contact center to be in place to first reach out to the customer, though they were interested in buying a financial product, but they still needed an assistance. So somewhere that human touch was required, though the smart IVR and the chatbots that we have in place, which has learned over the decade with the data that we have, there was still a human touch which was required. So like, like it was mentioned on this in this conversation as well, that it would be always a hybrid model, which would succeed, though the anticipation of this coming in was after 5 years, but with COVID, things came in quite early and preparation took us some time. But yes, once everything has stabilized, we have been able to keep the engagement going on,
right,
causing the retention of those users.
So thanks. And with that, Jaswinder, let me call you in. being a CTO, and Dr. Chumki earlier talked about work from home, and both Gaurav and Ankit talked about the hybrid piece. Okay, now we all know pandemic, right? When it came and hit us, right, everything was halted, right? And work from home was the only solution which perhaps all the companies had. And as the unlock happened, some companies moved to a hybrid kind of a model, right? Some pieces they're going to be work from home, the other pieces is going to be work from office, right? Now, being a CTO, how do you really manage this entire piece? Because when you talk about work from home or work from office and a hybrid model, that entire piece of stitching it together from a technology standpoint, I am sure is going to be very, very challenging. How do you really, see that, challenge being, overcome?
Hi, thanks everyone for having me in this platform. How Ankit has told that the hybrid model, which has come in and which is 5 years down the line and which has come repounded itself because of this COVID thing, which has happened. I'll take it forward from there. Yes, the COVID has hit us badly, and it has pressurized us to change how we are going to work. The way earlier work from home was work from remote place was an alternative, rather than now it's a necessity. So now companies started thinking what kind of hybrid models, remote, mixed, what, and so the organization started thinking about that. And it also brought the challenges to the technology in terms of data, how the data is going to be going through, how the data securities are going to take into place. Yes, Indian we as an industry was not ready for that about a year back. It has hit us, but it has make us learn and act as per how it is going to come. So now you see the companies are coming out with hybrid models. Split hybrid is one of the best models which they have come out with. They have like told, okay, this is a split model, hybrid can be worked, whereby people are given the options of working 3 days from the office, 2 days from the home, kind of a thing. But yes, again, the challenge is how to secure them. So,
absolutely.
So that's a challenge. Now, if you see the lot of cybersecurity companies, cybersecurity stuff, products are up in the market. Data leakage policies has been tightened up, screwed up.
Right.
That we have been gotten hit by our CEOs or CEOs like, yaar, mera ye nahi chalta, wo nahi chalta. Because DLPs are in place now, we have to work like that only. So that's not an option. Yeah, the tightening of securities, and in the way also creating some kind of platform whereby engagements of the shareware kind of a thing was built up, so that that can be used as a common platform for everybody to share and also develop. So that kind of platform came up. Yeah, so the security was one, the shareware platforms were one, which came up with a big style, and now it's a model. Now it's a growing model. We are going to work like that. The e-learning stuff, the earlier HR has its own challenges of hiring, and when we hire them, how to train them. I come from a contact center business. So challenging of training them, how to train them. The e-learning tool came up. Okay, let's have an e-learning tool. We started build it up. The challenge was thrown to us by this pandemic, yes, but we have been able to take that challenge and also forfeit by saying that, okay, give us the challenge and we give you the answer. Security, DLPs, hybrid models, and e-learning tools, which is the answer to all these things.
Thanks, Dashwinder. And the way I look at it, Dashwinder, is, when the pandemic hit, I came across, as I call it, a socio-economic challenge, especially on the contact center bit, right? Yeah. Because we all know, people, who are, our contact center agents, right? They're obviously at the right bottom of the pyramid, right? And most of them, are either living in a PG or, a group of, friends living together, or maybe, they are living in a 1 BHK, flat. Okay. Now, when we talk about the entire work from home enabled for a contact center agent, I've actually seen those scenarios where, the lady is there on the call. Okay, the agent is a married woman, right? And the in-laws, the mother-in-law from the back is shouting that, hey, I need the tea.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I call it, a socio-economic challenge. How do you really, manage that? We may, I can see, everyone smiling, right? But that's a real challenge, right? We talk about, electricity going off, in India especially. right? Because typically these kind of profiles, they perhaps don't have those generators, those inverters. They're not living in those societies where there's 100% power backup, right? You are on a call and all of a sudden electricity goes off, right? What do you really do? You can't do anything.
So I will add to this, like, yeah, I will agree with that. These all challenges are thrown up to us because of this thing.
Right.
How to overcome this supplying of laptops, because laptops has an inbuilt batteries, so they can work more, provide them with dongles. That all policies were made on the fly.
Right.
Like that,
Right.
actually, I will be saying that the senior management plays a big role in this. They have to come up with on the fly with the policies and all. And the senior management, I will also like to say that our government came out with all the new policies of DOTs by and try for relaxing for work from home policies. That really helped us to curb this and basically play around with the technology and makes the solution available for the end user. So that basically end services are not affected because of that.
I completely agree with you, Jaswinder. And with Bajaj Allianz, when this entire pandemic happened, and I said at the beginning that companies who had actually invested upfront, they were able to not only survive but thrive. That's what happened with us, right? As the pandemic hit and the entire lockdown was announced, we had 100% of our workforce enabled on work from home or anywhere, for that matter, right? You talk about those dongles or internet connections or laptops, everything was enabled. All the processes were there. We converted all the training material into videos. All the SOPs were converted into video SOPs, right? Which are also circulated, and then we went ahead with that. Now with that, let me first apologize to Sharad for coming to you, at the last. But I had the most interesting and the most challenging piece for you, Sharad. Right? We saw, as Pranav also mentioned, that it was the COVID who actually helped the entire world move to the digital. Okay, and everyone talks about there was a new world which got created after the pandemic. Right? Now, if I give you that crystal ball, right? What will your crystal ball say that what's in store for us in the next 5 to 10 years, considering the way we are right now?
Thanks, Ankit. Thanks, everyone, for having me on this forum. The scenario has become actually quite complex. Let me start for everyone's knowledge by saying that it is me who is personally speaking, and there is no virtual assistant or bot in the view of me delivering this. So that was on a lighter note. Let me now come to the topic as such. So the situation has been quite an interesting one, where we've been faced with technology disruptions over the last few years. AI, RPA, machine learning, NLPs, these are the new buzzwords that we keep hearing all around. And everywhere we go about, and we've been seeing only one thing: customer experience. That takes a front stage. So what has changed in the customer experience piece? What was earlier? What is it now? So if I were to look at it, it was earlier a reactive approach where the onus was completely on the customer to actually navigate the various channels to see his response. And more often than not, he really was not satisfied in terms of the kind of responses that he was getting. But scenarios are now changing. It is now getting more adaptive. So let me now get in more dimensions to the whole thing so that we can have a broader perspective about the complete scenario. Jeff Bezos recently undertook a 4-minute space trip. What was that? Space tourism. What was the objective? It was aimed at wealthy tourists. What percentage of the population would have ever thought that space tourism would be one of the newer business avenues that will be emerging? Look at the recent pandemic. The recent pandemic actually caused a lot of use cases emerging out of the whole scenario. One fine day, people realized that, I don't need to go to the office and I need to operate from my home. I would be connected to over my internet or the VPNs to my office. That gave rise to intelligent homes, intelligent workspaces, and getting increasingly connected and smart. Now look at the next follow-up use cases that emerge from this. With this work from home scenario, organizations started realizing that products could not be delivered in the brick and mortar way. Now there was a need for getting these products in an online form, which called for a digital customer experience. The businesses, the pandemic actually caused acceleration of the businesses, and technology adoption has actually got sped up by several years. That's a hard reality. And the most interesting part, now organizations further were forced into thinking that with a person working from home, how secure is my data? How can I prevent data breaches? How can I ensure confidentiality of information? And that give rise to investing into technology so that we can mitigate scenarios of cyber crime and other things. Now, this does not stop over here. Look at healthcare. Did anyone ever realize that Fitbits, fitness trackers will come up and they could monitor their fitness levels round the clock and on a real-time basis? So augmented humans is something what we're now being getting transformed into. Look at the other phases. Business is now undergoing a huge revolution. We've got blockchains that are coming into picture, which are actually promoting trusted and they're facilitating trusted transactions with digital trade. We also got scenarios of payment solutions, which are now moving towards drifting towards digital currencies. And why? Because this is more secure and more convenient, where you don't have really involvements of financial institutions or banks, and you really are not more in a regulated environment. This gives you complete flexibility. So these are the kind of scenarios that are now emerging. We have been speaking about voice bots, chat bots. Now we're getting into visuals. Facial recognition is now going to be the mantra going forward. So look at the channels and your platforms are also now emerging. How the fragmented information that is available on multiple platforms. In fact, this is being classified as a bad data. In fact, one of the research shows that the US has been actually losing $3 trillion annually just because of this bad data. And that's where organizations are now actually investing their efforts in actually cleansing up and filtering this data so that your AI and IoTs can be put into best use for understanding the consumer behavior, understanding the customer preferences in a more better manner. So with all of this, what is it there for contact centers? Let me now get that perspective into the whole thing. So we have seen a transformation that is actually coming across. And how this transformation is coming across. Earlier, it was BPMs that were classified as service providers. Now, this is a shift from service providers to service partners. So with your disruptive and transformative factors across value chains, outsourcing ecosystems will now require BPMs to adapt with this. Companies that are actually able to meet up with this will be able to keep pace and actually be able to unlock the value that is there for the upcoming future. Let me just share in the context of contact center how we've been doing. We've been actually believing in only one thing: proactive onboarding of technologies for delivering preemptive services. And that's how we've been able to not only get through with COVID or the pandemic, we've been able to thrive on it. Nearly about 65% of our workforce having gone live on a work from home environment in a span of 45 days. So thousands of workforce going live in a BPO and the contact center environment is a humongous task. Look at the other use cases that we've been dealing with. During this pandemic phase, with the digital products coming into picture, with one of the leading BFSI clients, we've actually ramped up capacities by 1,000 FTEs. Because the markets which were untapped earlier in the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities are now available for tapping. So all these are the kind of experiences. Look at our healthcare client that we've been working. We've actually carved out a complete automation roadmap where we already deployed a self-care service as level 1. With that kind of volumes actually now moving in a more convenient manner for consumers. And now in the level 2, we are looking at automation where the moment a health checkup has happened and the reports are made available, they would get delivered into our email boxes and an acknowledgement being shot into a WhatsApp medium or an SMS or another preferred mediums. So that's how the future is moving towards. So my take on the next 5 years, it will be all about 5G, the emergence of the newer platforms. And believe me, it's organizations who are actually working principally with an approach of service partnership will be the ones who will be able to unlock the huge value that is there for the store. So it is all about think future, act in the present. And before I could end or conclude, I'd just like to leave the last food of thought. The day a child will be born with both parents being non-human, that will be the day from which point onwards technology solutions will be technology-led.
No, very well said, and Sharad, and I hope that doesn't happen. Right. With that, if I can just summarize the various discussions that we have had, okay. Yes, technology is an enabler, okay, right? We'll all agree, right? However, we should not make that mistake of implementing something based on technology. We should look at the specific use cases and then look at technology, because at the end of the day, one needs to take advantage of that entire automation piece. And the customer should be able to reach to the human when it's really required, right? It should not be that the technology is only driving everything, right? At the end of the day, we need to realize that it's the humans who have created the technology and not otherwise, right? And in turn, as I also call it, that somewhere we need to humanize the entire digital, okay, because digital is everywhere. Now let's get into humanizing that piece, right? Let that technology piece come in and make sure that people are learning from various interactions, right? Technology can actually complement that piece and can stitch that piece to get those learnings to the humans, so that the humans can further enhance that entire experience. And then this entire shift obviously allows your human workforce to really look at the critical pieces, right, and ensure that their experience is obviously top class. And when their experience is top class, they'll ensure that your customer experience is also top class, right? And when it comes to really contact center piece, we talked about the entire AI piece. I strongly believe that the voice bots is gonna be the real future when it comes to the contact centers, right? Yes, as I said, the non-voice bots, same in the voice bots, that if the bots fails for certain scenarios, it has to seamlessly transfer to the human, right? So the human piece will not go off, is my strong belief. And that's what we also kind of deliberated largely, that yes, the human piece is there to stay. Technology has to complement, right? We can't be slaves to the technology, right? And ensure that yes, technology is implemented at the right speed, with the right use case base, not the technology based. Right? Now with that, let me thank each one of you. I really enjoyed moderating this session, and I hope audience also enjoyed. And over to Ekta, we can look at some questions.
Thank you, Ankit.
Yes, thank you so much. So yes, we do have some questions which were mentioned on the chat box. So I would directly take it from there. We had a question from Nirav Mehta. He was asking, do you think the technology department use should be basis a customer profile? Do you think the technology deployment use should be basis a customer profile? If Nirav is here, Nirav, if you want to elaborate, you can do that.
Anyone wants to take a shot at it? It's open.
Yes, we have Nirav here. Nirav, if you want to ask yourself.
So Nirav, as I also mentioned in the last summary, right, that technology implementation has to be based on use case, right? And how do you really get those use cases? You get those use cases when you look at your data, your customer insights, right? So it has to be driven by that. And let me give you a process to it. That's how we follow at Bajaj Allianz General. First, look at the data that you have, look at the customer insight, you capture all those insights. Then segment those insights as a step 2 into the stated needs and also the unstated needs. Because at times what happens is when we look at the data, we only look at the obvious stuff. We kind of miss on those unstated parts. It's very critical that we look at those unstated parts, because that will help you to get that entire customer experience up. Otherwise, you are just doing a tick mark that, okay, whatever customers I've asked, I've just delivered. You're not going to exceed the expectation of customers. Then at the third piece, you actually do an analysis that when you have those stated and unstated needs in your current stack, how are you really going ahead and solving that piece? And what is the gap analysis? Now, when you have those gap analysis, the step 4 comes in where you look at the technology. That those gaps can be eliminated with this kind of technologies or solutions. And then once you implement that technology, then the 5th step comes in, build those control metrics, which can make you understand that whether your solutions are going in the right direction or not.
I would like to add 2 things to Ankit what has said. One is like marrying and mapping of technology with the customer requirement. So that's very important. First, you have to see what kind of a customer it is, what domain he is coming from, and Based on that, we have to map a technology and marry that technology to that requirement. Then only it makes sense. So I basically go with the principle of marrying and mapping of technology for a requirement of the customer. I can't sell a video KYC solution to somebody who's selling a customer durable thing. The video KYC can only go for a BFI segment. Because if I go a video kind of call center for a consumer durable, what I'm going to hear is all that SF words only. But this is no use for them. These kind of technologies only useful for BFS segments. I can also see some questions on sales and all. Yes, voice bot can help in enhancing the sales. I think the Sharad can put more, Sharad and Pranav can take it more or speak more on that. It really can help you to sell, cross-sell, upsell in a very big way. Sharad, you can take that question, I think.
Sharad, you are on mute.
Next question.
Okay.
Sharad, you're on mute.
Okay, Mr. Sharad, are you sharing something or should I take the next question?
Yeah, so as I've already shared that it will be driven by use cases and basis your customer preferences and your behaviors, technology solutions will have to be designed. And that's how the role of a CTO in any organization actually comes into picture, to wear the hat of a business more than a technology hat. So that's how I like to sum it up.
Okay. Having one question we have from Kalpana. She's asking, during pandemic time, how quality management system was enabled for auditing? Anyone from?
So I would want to take that question for Kalpana. See, overall, I think as a contact center industry, there has been a challenge during the first pandemic, honestly, to have this entire quality monitoring system absolutely at par if I have to compare it to the pre-pandemic situations. We had enabled our agents working from home. We did also enable our QAs taking or rather monitoring calls online on mobiles. We had given them their system. The challenge which actually we faced was on the feedback giving mechanism. How do we give real-time feedback to the agents? That was one challenge. And the bigger challenge than that, what I felt personally, because feedback mechanism, like I mentioned in my talk when I was talking, that we automated the entire QMS and we have that on a click of a button. We update the QMS and they can see it on their CRM that's enabled. And they can see the feedback, they can play the call themselves and understand which portion of the call was going right, wrong, bad, whatever. The bigger challenge to my mind, interestingly, was the lack of benchmarking during pandemic. Now, we had a normal situation where we knew that there is an X amount of productivity which is required to justify a process. Now, during pandemic, like all of us spoke, Ankit, you spoke about, mother-in-law probably yelling that I need tea or something happening, the kids working around you, and there is a disruption, there is a sudden hold put on call because the telecaller, poor girl or boy, doesn't know how to deal with that situation. Right. We didn't really know, and there was a bigger thing. So one was what Jaswinder was talking about, that ensuring laptops and PCs are sent home. The bigger thing was all those were done. Internet connectivity was given. We had given them dongles, but suddenly the traffic on internet was so high that there was a lot of disruptions in the internet connectivity. So while the kid was on call, he wanted to give his generous 8 hours on calling. There was this internet which was creating an impediment. So I personally know telecallers who've actually gone out, in those football grounds, in those, typical areas. If we know the Mahada areas around Bombay, they have sat there in the football, ground taking calls. कि मैम यही जगह है जो खाली है और open है तो internet connectivity मिल जाएगी. So I think keeping all these things in mind, in the first pandemic, specifically last year, we were in a dilemma ki benchmarking. How do we do the benchmarking? What should be the ideal productivity which would justify? Now, the first 2 months, we have seen our principal clients being very, very, generous and very, polite about not talking much on the productivity front. But from the third month onwards, they demanded a normal productivity, business as usual. It was a BAU that was asked from us because they were paying BAU. I mean, why not? So I think this entire thing played a very important role in terms of redefining the entire quality monitoring system. we had to by default, measure quality along with performance. So there had to be an equal weightage of soft skills versus product knowledge versus the delivery. So there had to be a situation where we map all three together and then come to a situation. I think having said that, today as we talk, we are well prepared for pandemic 3. Pandemic 2, we've not seen much of a dip in our productivity pre-pandemic days. We are proud about that as an industry, I guess. And I think we are well prepared for pandemic 3 for benchmarking and feedback also. Anything else, Kalpana, in specific that you would want to know?
Yeah, and to add to that, I just wanted to highlight three things that when you talk about quality auditing system in a pandemic scenario, there are three things that factors. One is the remote workability or remote functioning of the quality system to be audited. That being one. Second is the communication between the auditor and the rep and the agent. So that communication flow has to happen. The third thing is accessing the information, the recorded calls, the information reach accessibility to the auditor as well as to the agent for him to listen to his policies or errors. So these three things are what we are addressing as EDAS in terms of our solution. In terms of our solution, we've addressed all these three factors so that in terms of pandemic or otherwise, these three factors are addressed and they're very much there in our solution to be accessed remotely, smoothly and seamlessly.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
So we are like almost on time. Before we wrap up, I would like to take two more questions, quick one, because I really don't want to annoy our audience. So we have a question from Shweta. Is voice bot an enabler to sales?
Well, I'll take this up. So yes, voice bot Shweta definitely is an enabler to sales. It fills your sales funnel with qualified prospects, because see, at times what happens is you get a lot of inquiries, but are they qualified prospects? Are these right inquiries? So bot can always do their own checks and make it a qualified or a non-qualified prospect. Second thing is they're always there to help and guide, specifically in e-commerce scenario. If there is a chatbot, you can log in after work hours, maybe at 12 in the night or 1 in the night, and chatbot is there to help you. The study has always proved that shopping with bots elevates more revenue somewhere. It improves customer service at the end of the day. So my take is that bots definitely help and they enable sales.
Okay, thank you, Pranav. And one last question from Ankit Singh. How unstated needs are captured by voice bot? Anyone?
When you talk about unstated needs, okay, this is the real game, because when you say that voice bot and that entire analytics behind that, the straight through would be that those respective keywords. Okay, those respective keywords have been picked, and then from there you are driving that entire analogy and then driving to those stated and unstated needs. The other is that you also look at how the customers or that entire thing, when interacting with the bot, the entire tone is changing, right? Or when the bot is talking, how the customer is responding to that. Perhaps at that time, and looking at those minute details will give you those unstated needs as well. For example, the customer may not tell you or on the bot that this is the right time or not the right time to give me a call. However, if you have that intelligent bot and that entire AI piece is working really fine, if you have really programmed it well to pick up those insights, you can actually gauge that piece that yes, the customer was annoyed because this was not the right time. And that becomes the in a way unstated need that perhaps calling this customer at this point in time or this profile of customer is not the right way. We may have to change that. And it's a continuous process, learning, right? You won't get that answer in 1 or 2 data points. It's a continuous process. It's a pattern that you need to analyze, right? And then you will be arriving at those unstated needs.
Thank you, Mr. Ankit. One last, Dr. Chumki, for you. Mr. Arnab mentions human upgrades technology for the enhancement of humans' own delivery power to customers, on-time best solutions. So he's like, do you agree to this?
I completely agree. In fact, I was replying to him on the chat itself. because I thought there would be lack of time. Like I mentioned when I was talking, that while I completely agree that all kind of technology invent would take the steering wheel going forward, but it is only the human resources and the humanness that we put forth would ensure the customer experience and the enhancement of customer experience. I think, Arnav, the entire crux of the entire discussion today in this forum has been that though we have technology, we respect technology, we need technology, but it is the human being at the end of the day who would drive the technology. So we all are human. Pranav, who's been spearheading this entire campaign for ERAS for Us, is a human. He understood the human need, and therefore on the pandemic, he worked on it. Jastinder, our CTO, is a human. He has understood what Pranav actually wants to develop, and therefore deployed, solutions in accordance to that. So therefore, it is all about humans, for the humans, and it will always be done by the humans.
Sure, that's a nice thing, Dr. Chumki. Thank you. So, so I think we had an interesting panel discussion. So now I would request, E-Dash team to felicitate our speakers who have joined us today for the session. Over to you, Mr. Pranay. So you can just felicitate the trophies, and the trophies will be reaching to all our speakers,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ekta. Thank you, Ankit, for a wonderful moderator session.
My pleasure.
It's been amazing. Thank you, Dr. Chumki. You are an asset and a star to us. Thank you, Manish. I know Manish is not there, but thank you, Manish and Sushant. Both have dropped off for a meeting, but thank you for being there, and thank you for being part of this session.
Yes, can we have the another slide for the speakers, Chandrasekhar? Over to you, Mr. Jaswinder, to felicitate our speakers.
I can't see the screen.
Yeah, I will have a screen.
Thanks. Thanks, Sharad. It was wonderful listening to you, your ideas, and your 5-year plan, like what is going to happen in the season. It was really good. Ankit, thanks for being part of this and sharing the same thought what we thought of on pandemic and COVID and how it has preponed everything. Gaurav, Vijender, thanks for being part of this. It was really nice to have you all in this platform, and it was a great learning for each and every one of us. Thanks a lot for being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaswinder. So now, Chandrasekhar, can you share our trophy for the partners? So now, on behalf of the Brinalytics team, I would like to personally thank each and every thought leaders for being here, taking out your precious time on Friday evening, coming here and sharing wonderful insights on the topic. Thank you, Mr. Ankit, for moderating the panel so well, which you have always done. And thank you for being here, all the speakers, all the not missing now. Now, on behalf of the Brinalytics team, I would like to felicitate our partner, E-Dash, for their wonderful association with us, coming here, sharing the platform and sharing great insights and solutions on digital transformations for the various roles they have. Not missing our lovely audience for taking out your precious time and being here today. I hope you all had a great session and interaction with our speakers. They had answered all your questions in a wonderful manner. And we had also shared a feedback form on the chat box, which mentions about one-on-one brainstorm virtual session with E-Dash. So they have very interesting solutions. So if you'd want to connect with them, Brinalytics team will be glad, to connect them with you. Kindly follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for various webinars and updates. Thank you once again, each and every one of you for being here, and have a nice weekend and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.